partner in crime. And it looks like, Shelly, I just got the recording to get going. So we are now officially recording. These are the Zoom norms. I think I've read 3 times, but we are recording and off and going today. So first day of this Canvas Leadership Summit onboarding follow-up. Our goal today, for those of you joining us, we've got a link in the chat. We'll look at the agenda now just briefly. So if you can get to the agenda, if not, let us know. Shelly can help you out. But let me hop over screen sharing wise and show you what I like to talk through. So here's the agenda. At the top, you can see PBV Summit 20. That's our bit.ly if you want to type that in from your device at home, or just click the link in the chat. That'll help you follow along. We're going to look at what's our need at the site. And as principals, coaches, site administrators, everybody in between this week, other than teachers, what is that need that you have to help get your teams on board? And so we'll work through the Q&A idea. That transcends all of our trainings, not just today. The sandbox and support courses, we'll do some follow-up and some learning from Monday's Leadership Summit. Course notifications in Canvas. So why is my inbox full of Canvas notifications? I don't want that. How to make that go away? We're going to walk through that very gently and hope we don't end up receiving any more, like I don't know if Steve Minyard's still on the line, but his calendar filled up with everybody's calendar appointments this past Monday, and he thought that was awfully kind of you, but he gently declined all of them. So we're going to help that concern. We'll walk through the slide deck specifically that was shared on Monday. Today we're going to try and model what you saw on Monday and provide a few nuggets along the way as to how you might design your onboarding for your teams when you have them the 10th, 11th, and whatever you decide to make that look like at your site. Then we'll wrap up with some fundamentals. So if we've got the idea of Canvas, at least initially, we understand how to log in. We understand kids are going to start showing up automatically. How do I design instruction? What comes first? You know, do I start with an anticipatory set? Do I begin with a some sort of a team building activity with my staff or with my students if I'm a teacher? What does that fundamental foundation of pedagogy and distance learning look like? We've got some ideas that you can see here. And don't let me forget about C5s, Shelly. We'll try not to forget about that. And then the feedback, we really would love to make our Zoom experience better for you. So if there's something you can think of that we could do better, please give us some feedback. Today isn't as much a direct instruction PD as much as it is a follow-up from Monday. So apologies if any of you were not in attendance on Monday, but we do have that recording. You'll see it in today's presentation. Shelly, help us out with the Q&A doc. And do you want me to share that, or do you want to share that?
You can share that, and I can talk through it if you want. We can give that a go.
You're on.
Okay, so this is a Q&A doc. We've used this structure for multiple courses and in several different trainings, and it's worked really well for us. At the top there, you'll see a quick little video that shows how to do this process of tagging someone specific in the document. So what that does is assure that someone receives an email that your question has been placed in this document so that you will get an answer. If you place your question in the document, we will be checking it, but the feedback or the response may not be as timely as if you would tag it and assign it to one of us. So if you'll scroll down, Jason, that would be awesome. What you're going to notice is we have placed questions that came up in the chat from the Leadership Summit along with answers in the document. And then this morning, as we ran the same similar training, if you'll continue to scroll down a little more, you'll see questions that were added from today, and then even questions that Val has added in at the bottom. regarding curriculum and instruction. So if you notice, right there on the line where it says 72920, Jill Fetters and Elena Carlson, and the question says, will next gen, oh, you're going through all that right now.
I'm messing you up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are. You're good. Will next gen math be available with Canvas? You notice there's two names there. If you have the same question and it has yet to be answered, please go ahead and add your name in that box. It helps me to know personally as we're looking at data and where our questions are really lying. What are those big topics that we need to help provide additional support for? The more names that are there, it seems to be a bigger piece, and that'll help me determine and help all of us determine where we need to help support and answer those questions. To tag one of us on that same line, you'll notice my name is there in the box, Shelly Tiffin. And if you highlight my name or highlight Jason's name or whatever name you type in that box, go ahead and highlight that for me, or a different name. There you go. Off to the side is a little plus button, and you can add a comment. And you can literally just type the plus sign, and you'll notice there's a drop-down box of email addresses. You can type in whomever it is this question, what you would like it to be addressed to. And if it's to me, great. And you click assign, and then click comment or assign. There you go. And what that does is it sends me a direct email. It sends it to me, lets me know that there is something assigned to me in this document, and that way I know to come in here and answer the question in that spot. So if you would tag one of us, if you know who that question goes to. If you're not sure who the question goes to, what we will try to do is tag you back once we've answered that question. And if you have any questions on this piece, feel free to drop those in the chat or drop them into the Q&A document.
I think, Shelly, thank you for sharing that. I think the only thing I'd add is just that it's a little overwhelming right now. It's just getting off the ground. There's a lot of information in the document. So if you have questions about, let's say, attendance, you could, from the document, you could type the Control and F button and type the word attendance, which ironically has no questions being asked yet. If it did, it would show you all the instances of the attendance. Or let's say sandbox, there's 2 instances or 2 places that sandbox occurs in this document currently. The next iteration of this document will have categories. So you'll be able to look at Canvas, you'll be able to look at modules or accelerated curriculum specific questions and onboarding staff questions. So it will be broken out a little more effectively as the document becomes a little more living and rich with content. Shelly, in the chat box, you're looking okay there. Any questions on the idea of the Q&A doc? No, okay. Let's go back to our agenda. And okay, so some of you may have noticed that the when we did the announcements activity with the team, some couldn't see announcements, some couldn't see the same information populating on the course. And so what we discovered just briefly, and let me shift over to my Canvas screen, which is going to be, as everybody says, let's do this one here. Is that going to give me everything or just my Canvas? Let's do just my Canvas. All right, so when I log in, I'm here. Let's say I'm working and I'm in a course. I can click the big blue bar or I can click the icons. Let's say I'm working in this course and I notice that I get an announcement or an assignment. So I go here and I can see it. If I were to click on the announcements bar and it doesn't show up here, some of our announcements and activity like email and calendar appointments come from the course themselves. So in terms of working with your teams, if you go back to that dashboard view and you don't see any of those announcements, or if you're on a course, you could go back to dashboard and switch courses. It very well may be that you're in the wrong course. So that was a clarification that we had. Another piece on this view in particular is that if I'm not sure how to get back home and I don't remember what my dashboard is or where to go, I can click this little Kern Schools icon, and that Kern Schools icon is going to take me basically back to my dashboard also. So whenever I'm in doubt, I can click this little icon logo above my account, and it'll take me back home, so to speak. When we're on our Panama Canvas account, which Lord willing is sometime next week, fingers are crossed, that will have the Panama logo instead of the Kern Schools logo. So when you see the logo up here in the corner with the Panama, there's a name for our person in our logo, is there not? Okay, so somebody shared a name of our little person. Anyways, our logo will be located right up here in the top corner, and you can click it to go back to home. The other piece while we're in Canvas on the agenda is how do I keep those email from showing up in my inbox? I'd rather just not see them, or actually I'd rather only get one email at the end of the day. Is that possible? So the way that we go about doing that is working in our profile. And the profile is hidden in this fancy little thing called the account on the big blue bar there. So if I click account, that's essentially what we all think of as our profile, or in social media, the kind of that place where all the settings occur that we care about in terms of our personal preferences. So you can see my profile image I can change. I can change the way that my files are interacting. This is also my settings area. If I'm really fancy and want to throw QR codes around and give people my own, come to find my Canvas account, I can give them a QR code. But what we're interested in here is how do we control what comes into our Gmail, really? And so what we'd like to look at is the top bar. There are several different settings. Notify me right away with a check, this little clock, the daily summary. So that's an email at the end of the day in your inbox, in your Gmail. And that'll give you every notification that you have turned on if you have this clock checked. And then the calendar is at the end of the week, kind of like Administrivia, send me an email for the whole week. I'm not really that active in Canvas, and I don't have I don't need to know what people are doing every single day, and that's fine too. Or don't send me anything. And chat might be an area where you don't want any notifications. The discussion groups, the chats happening in the discussion groups, you may not want any notifications on that. So if we're looking at email and announcements, you can see, you can hover over the title and it'll tell you a little more detail about what that means. If I hover over announcements and I scroll across the screen, I can see currently every night or morning, depending on the default, I'll get an email that says, hey, all of this activity happened in one email. If I don't want to receive any, I'm going to check that the green X next to it, because I'll just log into Canvas when I want to see the announcements. So that is one setting you might be interested in. You can see that grading is here, and that's assignments, weight changes, different settings that might be important from the admin side. Anybody who sends me an invitation, and there's all sorts of fancy features. Discussions, for me, discussions I'm going to turn off. I'm going to see discussions when I log in, and that's the only time I want to see them. You have your own preferences there. If I'm added to a conversation, so someone's intentionally adding me, I want to be notified there. And then this is the one that if you start seeing calendar appointments show up, it might be because you've got a green X here. that syncs with your Google account through Panama. So if you think about your Google Calendar and your Google email, those are going to be in Canvas also. You can choose to find them in both places or just use one or the other. Personally, my preference is I'm going to use Google like I normally would, and then I'll come to Canvas for things that are specific to Canvas. So for me, I don't want any of the Canvas calendar appointments, at least not now, showing up in my Google Calendar. I'll keep this calendar where it's at currently. And now at the bottom, you can see some administrative notifications. So if I have students enrolled in a course, if something happens where my school site population has been updated, there's a migration report, a lot of different tools that right now you don't need a lot of information about, but you may want to know when some of those things are happening. So that's kind of the overview of a few areas in Canvas following up from our Monday training. Becky, welcome to the group. It's the kind of follow-up from Monday, and we're glad that you're hopping on board with us here in the PBV family. So let me hop back to the chat and the Q&A, Shelley. How are we doing there?
We are doing good. We do not have any questions in the chat, and I have not seen any additional questions added to our document.
All right, and we for Becky who just joined us, we have a bit.ly here that's PBV Summit 20, and Shelley, maybe you can help get that in our chat for Becky who just joined. So next on the agenda, some of you are some repeaters from this morning. We're honored that you'd come back and spend your afternoon with us for a little while. Next on the agenda, we're going to look at how might we design this whole Welcome Back Cotter event for Canvas on August 10th or 11th, or the whole week of August 10th through the 14th. You'll see on the agenda the big idea for us today in follow-up to Summit is this idea that at the very bottom level, I can take the slide deck from Summit and walk through it slide by slide with my team all at once, which I wouldn't recommend, or maybe a little hour or 2 or 3 here, another maybe next day, maybe break it up a little bit, or I can do it just like Summit, and I can hit play on the videos and just walk through the whole day. It's up to you. You'll have to adjust that for your needs. But if nothing else, the big idea is the videos are embedded. You're encouraged to really walk through them, play them with your staff. When Chris pauses the video and asks us to complete assignments or little activities, then we would encourage you to have your team do that as well. The sooner we can get them participating, the better. Before hopping to the slide deck, one thing I'll also throw in there, currently Canvas logins for PBV USD are not available. The best option today at about 2:20 is to have them create a guest account. And at least if nothing else, they can go to the county site, they can get in Canvas, they can start creating a module or a course or a page and just really tinker around and get comfortable. They're also going to be able to attend next week and the following week opportunities with us also. So when you see them, many of them may have joined some of our Zoom PD opportunities over the next week. So even if you hear that your team has joined a lot of our PD opportunities, we would still strongly encourage that you take the time to work through the language and the big ideas with everyone, whether that's you and your coach, your C5, or a few rock stars on your team. Take the time to walk through it collectively so that you walk away as a team with the same language, regardless of what you want to call the different components of Canvas and distance learning. Shelly, any feedback thus far from the big idea?
Nope. At this point, we have no questions in chat, and again, no additional questions in the document.
It is that effective already. Okay.
Yep,
All
doing
righty. So
awesome.
here is the slide deck. Um, it could be you change the background to your own logo or yours, however you'd like that to look. You could enter in your school name here. You could keep the same language that we have. One thing I'll highlight is give a lot of thought to what if our staff meeting is fully distance learning, so fully physically distanced, either all over the campus in classrooms or at home, depending on what the Newsom at Noon news briefing provides for us. Because as we've learned, every day is a new day. So plan to have everybody together and walk through this together. But if not, spend a little bit of time thinking about how would I show the videos on this slide deck with the group. That can be done. We could show that a little bit here, but then the main encouragement with the whole design is not to forget about what if we need to go from a fully distance learning setting when our teachers come back on duty. So we're really hoping that we can get together, if nothing else, in MPRs, but it could be that we're in classrooms or any variation thereof. So um, you can see we've kept all the KCOS SOS slides, and I wouldn't overlook the idea of having an encouragement or a quote or some sort of a quick we're all in this together activity at the intro. That it's going to be important to connect. Some of you have shared your opening day timelines or opening week timelines with us. And I've looked at several sites already, the ideas and the drafts. Some of you have like half of the first day on the 10th getting connected and building a team. I personally love the idea of getting connected and then diving in. It follows all the Bloom's and Maslow's hierarchies, learning, and especially adult learning. So if that's you, that's great. If you want to go all day with it and then just move on, you can do that too. There's a lot of ideas here, but I would definitely encourage take a few minutes, maybe hours, get connected, figure out where everyone's at, um, and then dive in. When you dive in, you may just do half days. You may do a week, an hour, once a day. That's up to you. But definitely spend some time thinking about that. In terms of using this slide deck, one thing that is not always straightforward for everyone is if you were to use this and you wanted to do it simply without having to create all kinds of new wording, this Superintendent of Schools logo, it can vanish. There is a trick to do that. So we love that they shared their slides with us, and I would definitely give them some credit. But if you go up to the view feature, you can click on master, which I think it used to say slide master. Maybe it says that in PowerPoint as well. If you click on slide master in these Google Slides, you'll see that now I can click into what's in the background on these slides that you can't click into when you're just looking at the slideshow. So that is in view and master, and then you'll see I can change all sorts of different things. And what that does is allows me to work on this slide without being able to accidentally click and move that image or even the background. So there's that. I would strongly encourage again, maybe a third or fourth time, set the norms up front, have a partner in crime or voluntold somebody to help you monitor the chat. And with that being said, I'm going to pause. Shelly, how are we doing on questions and wonderings?
So one of our new wonderings is about the ability for teachers to modify courses or modules that the district develops, and specifically thinking about that in regards to small groups. So I know we have the ability to create courses, to modify courses. There are definitely specific components within Canvas that will help us facilitate small group instruction. As to the specifics, as far as content and what may or may not be changed, that will be communicated later.
I absolutely agree. I'm going to pass that along to Dr. Valerie Park and her team, who are right in the middle of all of those exciting details. And as soon as they possibly can, I know they're going to communicate that with everyone. The short answer, as Shelley said, is you can change some things. We will have pieces that are going to be stuck, skeletons. So anything else, Shelley? Any other big? Okay.
Not at this time.
All right. So feel free to keep adding to the Q&A document if it's something unrelated. All things opening school are in play on that Q&A document. All right. So agenda. Follow the same agenda. Create your own. It's up to you. The idea here is we're modeling what you saw on Monday. This is not your team, but it's very easy, can be your team. It's just putting in a few new pictures of those who are going to be coming back and doing your onboarding. If you're in a distance learning setting, I would really encourage the idea of getting some images onto your slides. Because if you're not in the same space, it's really valuable to have a little image from each of your team members to either create a carousel slide or to do breakout groups or all sorts of different activities. Having folks faces, even though you can see each other on Zoom, it's still nice to have something to refer to as the day goes along. So there's that. Our outcomes for today are really to help solidify these outcomes. So if you're familiar with these or not able to dig into any of these, we want you to kind of know where to go and how to be supported in doing that. You'll probably have most teachers already logged into Canvas because it's their Google login. But you may have folks like we had on Monday who have different Canvas accounts for CSUB or for one of the local colleges. If that's the case, they may actually by default go to the wrong Canvas login. So wouldn't overlook that piece if they're saying, hey, I can't find where we're at and I need help. Just have them look at their login or just log out and log back in. That's the easiest way to do it. I would definitely encourage getting a little understanding of what Canvas does. The bridge between classroom and Canvas is probably the most important conversation. It's definitely different, but classroom is the only piece, at least that one of the major pieces that teachers are going to have a bridge between what they had in classroom and what they're going to put into their modules. And it looks somewhat similar. So the Google Classroom announcements and assignments look similar to the modules that are in our courses. That's one of the main pieces that doesn't easily integrate. So I'm going to have to recreate some of my classrooms. However, all the activities in Google Docs and slides and videos and all of those items that are in the classroom, those are all pulled directly out of Canvas. So that is not an extra step. It's really just kind of recreating for the teachers who were using Classroom, recreating that structure like they wanted in their modules for their students. So that's the one piece that we are also working on, a special video for you and for teachers so that they do see the big differences between classroom now and how classroom would look like and what it needs to look like in Canvas. The last thing I think on the idea of Canvas and classroom, with attendance accounting and the new language we have for distance learning, one of the main concerns that we have, both as teachers and as site administrators, is who's not been connecting, whether it's students and or whether it's staff. Both have an obligation now from a distance learning setting to connect. So this is an area where I would encourage that it's not a suggestion to use Canvas versus Classroom. It is one of the things that we are needing to do now as part of our normal day, because it's where we're going to pull daily live interaction reports from. And so if there will be a little bit of a bridge that'll need to be crossed for that transition, but it does have I think a very important underlying reason. Some districts are not making this transition. They have some of the ones that I'm aware of, they have a very large attendance accounting team that actually already has vehicles and reports to all school sites. And they, at this point in time, are going to do those things with their large staff that they already have in place for truancy mitigation. So we don't have that type of a team yet. So we're going to do it electronically to the best of our ability. All right, so why did we choose Canvas? You can walk through some of these ideas. You could throw in your own if you are beginning to like Canvas. The one thing that we didn't talk about too much is with the county, the superintendent of schools, your teachers can call Canvas and get support 24 hours a day. So at 9:00 p.m., they're struggling with a module. We have an extra helpline availability for our teachers for sure this year, and I believe it's a 2 or 3 year opportunity for us. So that will be big, especially when last minute I need to change something. And so I'll get into a little bit of the virtual learning. Shelly, I'm going to pause. That's a whole bunch of just me at this point.
Let me unmute myself. We do not have any questions in chat. I'm looking for, I'm going to read Becky's question really fast. Looking at optional PD schedule for next week, August 3rd through 7th. The audience is listed as teachers, flipped PD. What does this mean?
Well, thank you for asking. So one of the things we'll talk a little bit about is terminology with blended and asynchronous and synchronous and flipped. But to answer your question directly, next week's PD will be topical. So in a flipped model, our hope is for anybody who's attending, primarily our TOSAs, our teachers, coaches, is working with the topics that are listed, providing a short video to watch and as much as possible understand before arriving to the 10 o'clock or the 2 o'clock learning opportunity. And then during that time, we will be able to take steps more quickly based on questions that those in attendance have from watching the short video clips. Many of those clips are found right in our sandbox. If you see, there's a little Canvas matrix that has a bunch of little names that are hot links. A lot of those videos might be used. We also have some from YouTube that are a little more succinct. We might use instead of some of those. So that's, I don't know if that answers your question, Shelly. I don't know if you're getting anything, but that's the big idea.
Yes, I probably should have read the last statement, so my apologies, Becky. The big question was, can all teachers attend? And at this time, the answer is yes. We may have a cap on like a 300 limit per session, but we will record those and make those available afterwards. And whatever is offered in the morning will be the same in the afternoon.
We will absolutely have caps, and that will be a little bit of a speed bump for us. We know that that Brooke and the IT team are working very, very diligently to try and get that online soon. If it doesn't go online and we're capped at 100, then it'll be a recorded session that that teachers would be able to follow up to. But at this point, it's doing our best to provide the opportunities, and then have 2 opportunities per day. Even at 300, we may still hit a cap. With 2 opportunities, we should be able to get most who are interested at a 600 per day limit. And we will be very clear about 1 attendance per day if we're hitting those caps. So we're going to do the best we can to have as wide of a net as we can for opportunities. And then, as you may have seen in the email doc that we sent out this morning, that PD and the needs may shift some of the sessions beyond next week. Next week will be pretty consistent. The weeks after, we may shift some of those 10 and 2 topics based on the need. Okay, so I guess a few more suggestions or feedback on using the slides. You can see that we've included the videos here. They might, let's click one right in the slide and see. Oh, okay, so it's fully processed. You'll see that it started almost halfway through the video, and that's because the first part of the video, let's see here. No, it's completely gone. So originally when we put these slides in, they were still processing. And so you had a lot of dead time that you'd have to fast forward. Now when you use this video, it should begin right where the county started.
I've been working with this team to get to develop and deliver
Chris,
professional learning
right there,
to help support Canvas.
And actually, you could do that with your team in the presentation setting if you're able to be in person, or sharing your screen like I am currently, either watching it together and using the chat feature, or having them watch it and then come back in 20 minutes or in 10 minutes. So you could chunk it up depending on what you think would work best for your team and the setting. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot to think about. There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of other things going on. So our suggestion is the simpler that you can do this, the better. We'll have opportunity for everybody to engage. And if you have the time to make it really complicated and fantastic, do that. But I would encourage, as much as possible, just try and get the feedback from your team and provide the just-in-time support, in addition to trying to make this day successful for them. So we are here to help. If you have ideas on your presentations and you want some feedback, let us know. We will definitely do our very best between PVU team and the ACT team and Rochelle's team to help out. You can see the team building activity is in here. I would just walk through this with them unless I created my own. I'm going to have to apologize to Rochelle. She's going to love this thumbnail of her on our slide deck. But YouTube is, what YouTube does is its own business. So I didn't have the time to make the change. So you can have your team walk through basic assignments. Get to know you, change your profile picture, the same things that we did on Monday. You can adjust that if you'd like to add some screenshots of a different assignment that you'd want folks to have. Make sure you fit lunch in. And then on the scavenger hunt, the one thing I'll say is you can walk through the video here. It's all included. If you want a copy of our form to do kind of the same exact scavenger hunt, awesome. You can include your own form there, entirely up to you. And then the afternoon learning is also here. So you could walk through that learning. I'll reiterate the need to have your team collectively tinkering around and, as Chris Person says, kicking the tires. So if you can give them that opportunity to learn collectively or in breakout rooms, if you're on Zoom, that's really strongly encouraged. And then you can follow up and fill in gaps if you can't get all the content in. So let's see. I think what I'd like to do is pull up the, unless we have any questions, Shelley, that are just coming in.
We do not.
Okay, let's pull up the detailed agenda. The last piece with using the county slide deck, if that's what you want to do, is this is the detailed agenda that Chris and the county team were using. You can see some of the highlighted items are just reminders to not go too far into content without allowing some interaction, which you already received on Monday. We didn't talk templates and modules too much on Monday. Shelley kind of answered that question. I think we talked about that a little bit. We will have shells and the skeleton courses loaded, and then there'll be some personalization for those, but much more information coming there. Let's see if there's anything else to highlight. There's the support videos, inbox, calendar. Some of these we took a lot of time in, some of them we did not. You could use this if you didn't want to do everything, this first couple days of onboarding. You could use this to help your team add some plus ones throughout the week, the first week, the second week, the third week, all the way into the first quarter if you wanted to. So, Shelley, any questions on agendas?
No, we don't have many questions this afternoon. You're just rocking it, Jason.
Hey, it's after lunch and all is well, right? Let's see if we can get back to, all right, here's our agenda. So the Canvas versus in person, if we have our Canvas online in the near future and you've got the idea that you want to run your PD through Canvas and use its tools, boy, you go right ahead. We would love to hear about that adventure. We're going to start doing the same on our end. As soon as our Canvas instance is up and going, we'll still use Zoom to model Canvas. But if I want to push out activities or engage staff with announcements, we may be doing that in the very near future. It's a long shot. I will say, if we can get Canvas online next week, that might be possible. If Canvas is kind of hit and miss next week, then we're getting pretty close for my taste. I'd probably just use Zoom and do the best we can with slide deck. Okay, distance learning fundamentals. Let's see. Shelley, do you want to speak to this somewhat, or?
Sure. So we took this information, most of it actually, from a course called Enabling Distance Learning by Google, but we've included this on the website for our distance learning courses. There is different terminology when we talk about distance learning, and some of the vocabulary teachers may not be familiar with, so this is a good resource and place to send them, specifically the idea of synchronous versus asynchronous instruction, and so there are some definitions there that they can walk through in just what distance learning looks like. Go ahead and scroll down there a little bit. I was trying to remember what's in there. Ideas on what scheduling might look like, When it comes to the synchronous and asynchronous component, we know that teachers are going to have some element of synchronous instruction during the day. The specifics of what that looks like, we're still nailing down, but they will be required to have that component embedded in their instruction. We know that maintaining a connection with our students and their families becomes an even bigger priority during this time of distance learning, and the communication is very important. Not only that it's clear and concise, but that we're making every effort to reach out to our families and to their parents or their guardians to help support them with this process. And so there's some information there. And then also our challenge, access is always a challenge, equity is always a challenge, but it becomes even more important as we look at distance learning and making sure that we're providing equitable and accessible education as we move forward. So that's just some information there that you can refer back to or send your teachers to, that's included in our distance learning courses.
Awesome. Thank you, Shelley. One of the things I didn't intro with, this is not needed for Canvas onboarding. However, as that onboarding begins to take place and the paradigm of distance learning instruction through Canvas settles in, somewhat like it did in the spring, beginning to have the same conversation using the same language is going to be important to kind of have that understanding. The other piece, to Shelley's point about maintaining learner connection, the really more so than it ever is, Maslow's hierarchy and the need for connection. Not only do we need to connect and be able to see faces, which we will be able to do with cameras being turned on for those who can access them, is creating an expectation for parents and students that I know when I can reach you. I know when or how I'm going to email you, when you're going to be available for me or for my student. And so more so than really any time in other learning environments, when we're 100% distanced, like we will be at the beginning of the year, ensuring that as teachers, we're able to give parents some some trust, some assurance as a parent and as a student that I know when I can find my teacher versus I can't walk down the hall, I can't do this, that, or the other. I know when they're going to be available for an office hour or for a small group support opportunity or whatever the case may be. So I think that's probably one of my encouragements from the distance learning fundamentals. How about from the group? Any questions, any wonderings about where we're at so far?
Are you opening that up for people to open their mics, or are you referring to the document and the chat?
Oh yeah, just any in the chat or on the doc so far?
We do not have any additional pieces.
All right. There's a document as also attached. This is what we're using to provide distance learning certification. We work with teachers and admin through each of the pillars. You can see the big ideas: connecting and communicating, managing the learning, and engaging the learner. That's all accessible on the distance learning website. I don't think it's linked on this document, but we can get it linked in there. It's open access, so anybody can click through that and dig in further if they want to design the best, on the pedagogical side, design the best opportunities for students and the class. All right, Shelley, C5, the support roles and anything else in that realm.
Yeah, right now the C5s will come back with the teachers and formally be trained alongside everyone else. However, we have sent to them information with training resources if they were listed as the C5 for your site last year. They've received some information on where they can begin jumping in and learning their components so that they can help support the sites. Hopefully they'll also jump in with us next week as we walk through that process. As far as a plan from the district for the C5s to roll out specific support, we are hoping that as administrators at your site, you have your own plans, or we know that you most likely have your own plans, and we want you to be able to utilize your C5 in the way that you best see fit. If you have something specific that you'd like them to do or an idea that you think is great, please share. Please let me know if there's a way I can support you with that, if I can provide them with resources and help prepare them. I am happy to do so. At this time, though, they will just come alongside the rest of our teachers as we start on August 10th, right? Yeah.
I think so, as of today. All right, thank you, Shelley. I didn't see any comments come in there. I think we're definitely knocking it out of the park. Engagement-wise, hopefully we'll get some caffeine in our systems. I know I am gonna find some caffeine as soon as we're done. Okay, last couple things. One is help PBV USD. We would love to hear any way that we can make this environment more effective for you. Provide support for your needs, even in like today where we're plus oneing or adding on to some instruction you received on Monday. So if you can take the time and help us improve that feedback really is for our entire instructional services team. We really want to make sure that you receive the best opportunities, even with some awfully goofy instructors and support providers. So we'll do our best. We would love to have any feedback to be able to help out. A couple items that are just add-ons. The calendar that was sent out in email is located here, and the onboarding videos that the county has put together are also linked. Both of those items might be helpful for your teachers. And again, if we're gonna have some of our, hopefully you're gonna be able to encourage some of your teachers to attend, please do encourage with some of the same notes that you received today in our email, which was one per day, and it will be on Zoom. The calendar links will be on that PDF document that will be updated regularly. So maybe keep a hot link or a bookmark for that calendar document that I think you're seeing now on the screen. These links will become live in the very near future for next week's PD, as well as the flipped piece of that. So the link to the video that might be a complement to the learning. Okay, I'm going to take a water break, and or we are going to quickly come to a close. For the good of the group, feedback, any big, small, or in between wins that we had today. I'd love to hear feedback, and we'll go ahead and stop the video just in case we have any really exciting information come through on our all group share. Anybody?
I'm going to say again that we are having all kinds of wins here at Dennis Junior High, and thanks for all this information.
Hey, you're welcome, Patrick. I think I caught 50% of what was coming through on your end, but I did hear thank you, and I appreciate that. All right. Anything else for the good of the group? I don't know. The Giants are hoping to beat the Dodgers a few more times this year. I did hear that. I don't know if anything else is important for the group. Go Dodgers, yeah. It's a labor of love. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Shelly, thank you for your help quarterbacking there on behind the scenes. And thank you, Team Cybert, as well. We definitely appreciate the effort you're putting in to get up to speed with your team. Let us know offline. We'll try and provide as much help as we humanly can. So with that, have a wonderful afternoon.